Hey everyone, it's Jason. Welcome to a video for Tic Tac KO. So they have officially released their third expansion, which is Ducks versus Demons. We previously had Dragons versus Unicorns, which is the first, and then Cute versus Evil, which is the second. So I did do this before when I did Cute versus Evil. I did make a comparison video between that and Dragons and Unicorns, and they're very symmetrical versus each other. They're like just more different stuff. They each have their own different things. And then Ducks versus Demons came out, and I was super excited because I'm like, hey, we got two more to play as. But I have to say that I'm not for sure if this is really a compatible game. So in this video, what I kind of want to show off is, it's not a bad product by any means. I think it's kind of the easier version of the game. It's maybe more of a simplified version of the game versus the other two. Can they be played together? They can, absolutely. But I feel like the original two are going to have advantages over the new one, just because of the way the cards are laid out. And we'll kind of see that in just a moment. So what are the basic rules of the game? Is you need to play 3 cards down in both games to score a tic-tac-toe. On a grid based of a 3x3 grid or a 9 space grid, just like you would tic-tac-toe. That's the basic idea. You have 4 types of cards. You have basics, you have specials, which have effects on them, you have white magic cards, and you have black instant cards. That stays the same for all 3 sets. The Dragon and Unicorn and the Cute versus Evil have the exact same number of layout. They have the same number of basics, same number of specials, same number of instances, same number of magic cards. Now, Ducks versus Demons, between each of their decks, they have the same number, but they have a different makeup ratio than the other 2 decks, which in general I wouldn't say is necessarily a bad thing. It does kind of give a little bit different flow to it, so you're not playing 4 very similar-ish decks. Instead, you have something that's a little bit different. But this is also where the caveat comes in. Their layout is a little bit different. I will go over that in just a moment. But a couple of things I want to go through are what the rule differences are between the 2 games. So in the original ones, when you played, I'm going to move this for a second, we got a grid map to play on. So in the first one, Unicorns and Dragons and Cute versus Evil, we had a grid map you played on. So when you played your cards, you generally played in the 1 to 9 spots. And then they had these letters on the outside, because how you actually scored the game wasn't getting a direct standard tic-tac-toe of 3 in a row. What you did was you had these objective cards. So you had a pile of objective cards, which are the same for both games, and they actually gave you a different layout. So if I was playing, whichever side I'm playing, it doesn't matter which side, I would have to get a 2, a 6, and an 8. If I want to play advanced, I could play a 4th one to try and get the G if you want to make the game a little bit harder. You had your standard ups and downs. You had some the other directions. You had 3 corners plus a 4th one there. You had your 4 in a row that way. You had diagonals. You had left, right. They did have your standard ones, but each player then had these secretly, so you didn't know what the other opponent was trying to do. You couldn't guess where they were trying to go. So, like, for example, if I had 2 cards here, you didn't know if my next move was to play a card here to win. For all you know, I could be trying to complete, out of that exact one, I could be trying to complete this one. So I might be, my next turn, he might play a card there to block me, right? Great. So I need to play a card here and get rid of that. But I could also be using it as a bluffing mechanic to try and do something else. I could be trying to go for that one. I could just be going for this, and again, using it as a bluffing mechanic. Who knows? So that's what kind of made the game a little bit more interesting, because it wasn't just, I play a card, you're like, well, I'll play one here. Oh, okay, I'm gonna go for this one here, and then that means your only option is to play one there to block me, and then it's like, okay, well, I'll play one here, and that's standard tic-tac-toe, right? then you have to place one there. And that's not a whole... I know there's special abilities and stuff that affect how you can do things, but that, it's kind of a little bit boring, right? Where it's just you kind of can anticipate what your opponent's doing. This didn't let your opponent know what they were going to be doing, where they're going to be playing. You had different objectives. And then once you scored it, you scored a point. And then you drew a new objective card, and you tried for the next one. And so on and so forth. This changes with Demons versus Ducks. So what they changed in there is instead of having objective cards and a map, we flip to this, we are playing standard tic-tac-toe of getting 3 in a row. So 3 left to right, 3 up and down, 3 diagonal. Except we have a ever-changing battlefield. So this did actually kind of make the game a little bit more interesting in that sense too. You didn't have to play for an objective where you had to force into certain spots. You have more fluidity on how you score until the set gets there. So at any point, you start off the first time, you can play anywhere around the card. But once you have 2 cards in a row, you see where these red spots are, it blocks off that third spot. So since we have 2 here, I can only go 1 spot left or right to make a 3 spaces. Or I have 2 here, so I can only go up 1 and down. This one's showing there's already 3 across. You can no longer play any cards there. But you don't have to, again, play anything next to it. You could play 1 up here, 1 down here. But as soon as you have a gap of 3, it automatically blocks it, showing here. We have a 3 here, so you can only play 1, 2, and then 3, so you can only play a card that way. And then we have our 1, 2, 3 up and down, so it does block it. But if at any point you score and you remove your cards from the board, it's going to free up new spaces. And now instead of having to I only have... If I removed these 3, instead of being I only have these 3 spots to play, you could play up higher. You could play different directions. And it could add a lot more different fluidity to where you can play and how you can play stuff. And then, removing a card from the table, not even by scoring a goal, but just by removing it with a special effect, could change up stuff as well. Again, you could have... 2 cards like this, right? And then the third player could play a card here or here. They could go back, and let's say they even play one here, and then the next turn, this guy, I don't have a card that does it, but he plays a card up here that can bounce a card back to his hand. So now if he bounces, so as of right now, there's our top row or our bottom row, because you have 2 here, so you can only play that way, but 3, you can't play anymore this way. But if he bounces this card back, then the next player's turn, they can play top, bottom, they can play left or right. It gives them more options where to play stuff. So yeah, is one better than the other? No, not necessarily. I can even potentially see you could play with both different ones on either game. If you really like the objectives from the first ones, you could definitely play that with the new set. There's nothing that would prevent you, because it gives you a little bit more enclosed space on the play. You have the rigidity of you're only playing in these 9 unless you're playing with advance. Then you have a little bit of an outside spot to play on as well. But then it also increases it to a 4, which gives you more variety to play stuff in. So I think that's kind of neat. That's one thing you can play either direction. Otherwise, the rest of the rules are the exact same. You have your draw phase, your action phase, your score phase, all that stuff stays. The only other rule that basically changes is Gridlock. So in the new one, when you play with Gridlock, it says each team. So this is if you start the turn and you have all 9 spots are completely filled up and you can't play anything else. So what you immediately have to do is each team must immediately move all basic face-up cards on the field to their discard pile, then flip the remaining character space up. So only your basic cards have to go. All your ones with special effects stay on there. But it does clean the board off a little bit. So that does help you and frees up your space. If they're face down because they were hypnotized as a special ability, then they just stay on there too, but now they're flipped up so they have to be active. The original games, though, their Gridlock was slightly different. Because you could have... if I can find the darn rules for it, because it had different size playing field. So there are no empty spaces on the grid, so even if you're only playing with the 9 spots. And you cannot or do not want to play a card. The game is gridlocked. So this might be if you have a magic or an instant card you could play that could do it, or if you decide not to. Each player has one turn to attempt to resolve the gridlock by playing cards. So on my turn, if I can't or I don't want to do anything, I don't have to. Then my opponent at least has a chance to do something if they choose not to. Gridlock never resolved. All players have taken a turn. Each turn must sacrifice, which is move your team's cards from the grid to your discard pile. It's the same thing. The newer version just doesn't have a sacrifice mechanic in that word. So after all, each team must sacrifice all their special characters. So there's one big difference right there. So even if we're just playing with the 1 through 9 grid, the 3x3, in the Demons Duck one, if you do it, the rule is you have to discard all your basic cards. In this one, you have to get rid of all your special cards. The part of the reason for that is when we look in a second here at the deck buildup, is Demon vs. Duck has a lot more basic cards than special cards, and vice versa and the other way. So it's more, you're potentially losing more cards in Ducks versus Demons. Now, you could again play this rule on either way, if you would like. That's really up to you on which rule you'd like to adapt. Just make sure if you're playing with someone that's played both or only played one version or the other to know who's doing what version. Because this also says if there are no open locations at the end of your turn and you did not play a card during your phase, the game is gridlocked. So in the original one, again, you have the option to do something, and if you choose not to, and you didn't play a card to try and stop it, change a magic card or an instant card, then your opponent has a chance. This one doesn't give your opponent a chance. Basically, it's like if they play one on their turn and they gridlocked it, either you have to ungridlock it or it removes everything. So it doesn't even give your opponent a chance to maybe play something to save it, like if they like how their board was still set up. So yeah, very, very interesting that they kind of changed those rules a little bit. Other than that's the only thing that's different between the two of them. Let's take a look at deck buildup, or deck construction or build. So in the original one, all 4 of the original decks, the Unicorns, Dragons, Evil, and Cute, which I all have the official sleeves for, all have the exact same number of cards in each thing. They all have the same cards overall. Same number, 40 card decks. But the original ones have 2 copies of each of their different basic ones for a total of 8. So they have 8 total basic ones. So you're not going to get a ton of them, but there's enough to play. The new ones, the Demons and the Ducks, here, the 2 new ones, have 3 copies of each. But they have 12, they have 12 total. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. They have 15 total. So 8 versus 15. So you're going to get a lot more basic cards versus cards with special effects. And this is why I kind of say it seems like a little bit easier version. And why I also don't think they're going to stack up playing against each other. Because having almost twice as many basic cards means you have less special cards, less magic cards or instant cards to play against. So you're going to have one team that's going to be able to drop a bunch of basic stuff down, but then the other team's going to be able to play a bunch of special cards that have effects. So it's going to kind of seem, really unbalanced in that sense. Does it mean you can't win? No, you still could win. I did wish, though, that I don't mind if it was like, oh, this deck had 8, this one has 10, because maybe they changed some of the things, but maybe they made the special a little bit more powerful or something like that. That could have been a different distinction, but we'll kind of have to look at some of them to see how much more powerful or weaker they are. But that's the first thing I wanted to point out. Then the next thing I want to do is we want to look at some of the magic, or the special ones. So for the original ones, you had mostly 2 copies of each. You had 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. You had 16 of these guys instead. So So I almost went the other direction, but you had 3 of them, 4, 5, 6 of them that had doubles, and then you had 4 that were just single ones each, which had their own things. So we have those. Then for the new ones, though, because we have so many more basics, we have less. We have a 3, a 3, and then a 2 and a 2. So you don't have any single ones, but you have more copies of each one. But we only have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. 13 versus 16. So again, that's not a huge difference. But another thing to note in there is also you have 2, 2, 2, 2, and then 1, and then 4 ones. Each one of the 4 ones has very different abilities. Where the Demon and Ducks one, they have 3, 3, 3, and then 2 and 2. So they have a lot of characters with the exact same abilities. So you're going to come across the same stuff more often versus having more of a variety. So that's definitely one thing. And we're going to come back and look at the differences in what we have there in just a sec. Let's look at how many cards. Then for magic cards, we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. But again, it was 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 3, and then double 2. Our singles. So we had 9, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Versus in this one, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We only have 8. So one difference isn't too bad, but it's a 2, a 2, a 2, a 2, a 1, and a 1. So not too much different. We just have that one card we had a triple of in there. That was about the only difference in that thing. So those aren't too bad. And then here's also where another huge change comes in. Is for the new one, we have 4 instances, but all 4 are the exact same card. And here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We have 4 that are the exact same, but then we have 3 special ones. Which 2 of them are the same. We have 1 extra additional one. So that's kind of a little bit different. We have a little bit more variety. In the original games, we'll have more of a variety because we have less basic. We have more variety instant, more variety in special. And then the fact that some of the duplicates aren't as much, so we actually get a couple more extra special abilities. So I think, can they be played against each other again? Yes, but I feel like the original 4 decks are going to have more things to do. But that, again, this could mean the other one's a little bit more basic. It's still definitely fun. So if we kind of look at some of these special cards versus each other, here's the other big difference, is they changed how the card layouts are. So here they always had a little symbol showing what they were, which is not a big deal on there, but it's a special uniform. But then they had everything typed out, versus here they just have quick symbols. And you're going to see that with all the Ducks and Demons. They just have symbols: draw, destroy, summon, swap, hypnotize. They just have very quick, simple abilities, which you can see and instantly know exactly what you're doing. Where all the other ones have everything kind of wrote out, because I suppose the unstable unicorn method. They have a lot more different stuff you can do, but some of them are the exact same things. Like this one says, so if we find one that's very similar, so like this one here, a spike here, it says, when this card enters the grid, you may draw 2 cards. So this would be the same idea as like a draw 1, except that you draw 2. So they could have changed that symbol, could have a symbol that said draw 2, very, very similar. But the difference is, again, this is going to have a draw 1, or we have some, we have draw 1 cards. We have destroy, which lets you remove a card from the table. We have summon, which lets you place an extra card. A hypnotize, which lets you flip them upside down. Or swap, which lets you exchange 2 of their spots. And then the Ducks have a slightly different one. They have a draw, a destroy, a summon, a repel, which lets you put a card back in a player's hand, and then they have displace, which lets you move a card around down the table. Now, those keywords are in both sets as well. So it's not anything new for keyword-wise, but if we just take a look at some of these other unicorns here, and I'm not going to go through every one of these decks, but we have more stuff like this, like it says, adjacent cards that belong to your team cannot be destroyed. So so it just doesn't just have an effect that comes in and lets you do this and then done. This has an ongoing effect. It lets you do some other stuff. We have, when this card enters your grid, you may discard any number of cards to draw that number of cards. This gives you a little bit more advantage in drawing your cards. When this card enters your grid, you may draw a card for each basic land, each card adjacent to a basic unicorn. So layout of your cards makes more sense, because the one's going to protect certain ones. This one's going to let you draw if you play with more basic cards around it. When this card enters the field, you may displace any adjacent card. So now we have the other one that lets you displace, and the newer one, but it lets you displace anything. This one can only displace adjacent. So again, layout on where you play them also now becomes more important versus just playing it. When this card enters play, you may play a magic card. So you get a free magic card on your turn. This card cannot be destroyed, so it's very kind of cool there. This card enters the grid, you may displace any character card. This card enters the grid, you may play a basic unicorn, so you do get a summon, but you get a summon with a specific thing. Or you have a player on the opposing team cannot play basic cards adjacent to this card. So again, it limits the thing on the movement. So that's kind of cool if they have static abilities. I do want to just jump through the evil deck because it has a little bit different stuff in there. So like evil, we have players on opposing team must discard an additional card to awaken a hypnotized character. So normally you have to discard 2 cards to awaken someone, otherwise they don't count towards your goal. Here you have to do an additional one. So it's not in itself doing any effect, but it's making the other cards more interesting. This card enters the grid, you may sacrifice it if you then hypnotize any 2 characters on the grid. So we do have a card in here that just lets us straight up hypnotize anyone when they come into play. And you get, I think, 2 copies of him. But this one, you have to sacrifice it. So you have to play him on the board. So it's going to cost, you can do that so you play him, you have to cost basically your turn to play him. But you can hypnotize 2 guys. Card enters the grid, you may hypnotize anyone. So that's essentially the same exact card. Enters the grid, you may choose a card from your discard pile, move it to the top of your deck. Did it recycle some of your cards? That's pretty fun. This card cannot be displaced. So again, we have 1 card that prevented movement, 1 card, or being destroyed. This card prevents displacement. When this card enters the grid, you may destroy any character card. So again, we have destroy cards in here. We have a bunch of them, but you have a bunch of copies, where here you might only have 1 or 2 of these, so you're not going to be destroying as much, but when you do, it's going to feel really cool. Enters the field, you may play a basic evil card. Card enters the grid, you may hypnotize an adjacent card and draw a card, so that's cool, but again, it has to be an adjacent card, so where you play it makes a difference, as opposed to the new one where you can just hypnotize anything. And then we have enters the grid, you may displace an adjacent character. Or this one lets you again play a magic card. So some of the cards are the same, much like both decks, like even the Duck and the Demon deck, they have slight differences. Each one of these other 4 decks has slight differences, but in their slight differences, they're just, that's all they are. They just kind of make them unique. Yeah, because again, if we look at the Demon Duck instructions, it's destroy a card on the field that belongs to another player. Repel a character on the field, move a character, swap a character, hypnotize, flip a character. So you can do it, you can target any card with those abilities. Instead, the older ones, the original 4 decks, you had to, lots of times, some of the things you had to have adjacencies. So sometimes you might not place it for your goal, but you might place it to straight up just hinder your opponent, which definitely feels very tic-tac-toe-ish. Because tic-tac-toe, it was, I play here, oh, you're going to score, I have to play that there to block you. This feels like you're playing cards like that. This other one just feels like, I'm playing this card to destroy something, so I'm going to play it where it's only helping me, and then I can use its effect to affect my opponent wherever else he is on the board. You know, I could play it on where it's advantages to me and then destroy his card, which would have stopped him from scoring. It's very, very different stuff there. I also want to look at the magic cards. So here's another big difference between them. So the Demon Duck ones, we have swaps, draw a card, hypnotize, draw a card. The other ones will have the other two symbols, repel and displace. We're gonna have a draw twos, and we have a destroy and a draw three. So we have kind of similar stuff there. We have destroy any character on the field, which does match. But we don't have just a strip. We have a destroy and draw, which is actually a lot more powerful of a card, which is kind of cool. Same thing. We have just a displace for this one, or this one has swap. So right here, these magic cards for the newer ones are actually more powerful because they're letting you also draw a card. They're replacing themselves. And the only difference is we got like 3 of this one versus we only had 1 of the other one. But then we get some cool ones like this. Displace the character card in the grid that's adjacent to a character that belongs to your team. Then play a basic card. So this is displace, but it has to be very specific on who you're displacing. And then you get to also play a summon. Where these ones just have more card draws than anything. So yeah, so a couple of differences there and just some of that stuff. So if we even grab like one of the other ones here, so if we're going to look at the cute ones, which are the lighter blue, we have repel or awaken a character. So this is to obviously go against the evil's hypnotizing. So it has the option to awaken. Otherwise, just awaken by itself wouldn't be that good. But there's no option in the other game, in the deck stuff, to awaken anything. Basically, you get hypnotized with one of their multiple hypnotized cards. You have to pay for it. Here, you at least had a potential card in one of the decks to get away from that. We have like repel a character card in the grid, then play a basic card. Repel a character on the grid, then search your discard pile for a basic card, so you get cards back. Displace a character on the field. Destroy a character on the grid. So we do get some of those. But you can definitely see some differences. They're not necessarily one's better than the other. I just think, again, the Demon Duck one has easier. It's quick. Do this, draw a card. Do this, draw a card. Target anything, draw a card. Instead of having to I have to plan where this is and that is and stuff like that. Then the last thing we want to look at are the instances. So both demons and ducks have the same instance card. They have 4 copies of each, which is, I'm mixing up all of my cards now, which is play this card when any other player tries to stop a card, or play a card, stop the player's card from being played and send it to their discard pile. It's essentially a canceling effect. So all the other decks do have the same thing. They have a similar card in there. So this one's like Unicorn Shield. Player's card stops their card. Dragon has Dragon Defense, does the same thing. The Demon one, if I find that, they have Dark Terror. So they all have that, and they all have 4 copies of that. So that's the exact same thing. But then this is where the older games get a little bit more fun. Instead of just having one instant card that does one thing, they had some alternate cards. So we did get like 2 copies of Uni Counter, which says play this card when a player tries to destroy a character card, destroying a card in your opponent's grid that belongs to the opposing team. So I'll say this. Let's hit the other one first. Unicorn Strike. Play this card when a player tries to play a card, stop that card from being played, send it to the discard pile. This card cannot be stopped. So basically, it's a super stop card. It just can't be shut off. But yeah, having the other one instant card is pretty neat because it gives you another option of something to do. Having one that can't be stopped is kind of nice because essentially, I play a card to win a turn, right? You could play Demonic Seal, right? I could turn around, play Unit Counter, and stop your Demonic Seal from being played. But giving everybody one card in the deck that lets you shut that down completely is not a terribly bad thing. So even if we jump in and we look at the evil one, we had our 4 Dark Terrors, we had our Creeping Doom that did the same thing. But then we also got 2 copies of Cave of Nightmares. It says, play this card. When a player hypnotizes a card, destroy that card. You may play a basic evil from your hand. So it gave you some other cards that had to have very specific things happening. So this card would sit in your hand until you hypnotize the card. And then you could destroy it. Like, add this on to destroy it. We had, with the unit counter, you had to wait until an opposing player tried to destroy a card. But instead, you could destroy one of their cards. Very specific timing for them, but that also made them really neat. So here we had, like, the Dragon one. We had Dragon Force. Another player... Oh, sorry, that's the same one. We had Dragon Dive, sorry. Player tries to destroy a card, you may play a basic card. So, like, this one lets you destroy any character on the grid that belongs to the opposing team. Instead, this one lets you play an additional card. So very similar, but just slightly different. And now, again, I think for advanced play, that's fun to have that extra card in your hand you could do something with if you hit the right moment. But again, for easier sake of ease, it's just to be like, oh, I don't have to worry about that. That's not a thing I have to worry about as a timing issue at all. So it's a little bit different, but again, when you have stuff like the hypnotizing and stuff that could come in, and awakening guys where you have to spend cards to do that, having just a card in your hand, like, I'm not worried about it. I could just discard this for that instead of discarding a basic, because you're probably going to discard basics or possibly a magic or an instant card for that versus one of your special cards. And that's the other thing I would get into something like that, which I think is also a unique thing, is if you ever felt like you had to discard a card, whether someone told you to discard it, or you had to discard it for like one of the awakening attacks, having a big variety of different cards is going to make that choice a little bit harder. Do I get rid of, if I have to get rid of 2 cards, I have a basic card, probably get rid of that. But do you get rid of a Pointy Poke, which lets you destroy a card, or do I get rid of a shield? If I have, a Nimbly on their players, lets me discard or displace a card, or if I have this one, let's say if I have this one, which lets me discard any number of cards and draw cards. Do I want my card drawing to get more things, or do I want to displace? You have more different options versus the newer one when you have, you have options, but, if I'm just looking at my special guys, right, and I have so many of the exact same cards over and over, the chances are I'm going to probably have 2 copies of this, or I might have 2 copies of that guy, right? So maybe I can afford to get rid of one because I have another one in my hand. So when you have 3 of every card versus 2 of every card, again, very minor, get 1 card difference, but the thing is you're going to have more of a chance to do it. Plus, when you also have 12 or 15 basic cards versus 8 basic cards, you're going to probably have a lot more basic cards. So every time I have to discard, I'm probably just going to get rid of basic cards because I have a lot more of them. Where then with the older games, getting rid of basics isn't always necessarily the best thing to do because they have a bunch of card effects that say, if this is placed next to a basic card, you gain this effect. So again, it worked with the layout. So, in overall, we've looked at these and we've talked about them. But which one is the better game, or which one should you get? I would say if you're picking this up and it's just you're only going to buy one of these, and you just want a really quick game, pick up Ducks vs. Demons. It has the fun idea of the mechanic of the Tic Tac KO, but again, everything's a little bit simpler, a little bit quicker, because again, you play a card, it's do this effect, now it's your opponent's turn. Then they play a card, do this effect, now it's your turn. So it's going to go a little bit quicker, it's going to be a little bit more fast-paced game, a little bit easier to figure out. Might be easier for younger players too. But if you want a little bit more of a challenge, a little bit more strategic game, pick up one of the other 2 sets. because with having the ability, like cards with effects, that you have to, where you play them makes a difference. Different things, and you can play them with the new rules if you don't like this grid rule where you have to play them in random spots like that. You have to try and score in certain locations, which then adds some different strategy to the game. If you just want to play, if you have to get three, but you have that ever-changing board, play with that new updated rule. That's perfectly fine. It's not going to change how some of these cards work. It might make some of them a lot better because you have, you could play a guy. Oh, currently he's on the edge, but then you could displace him or repel him or remove him or destroy him, or your opponent sacrifice him. It could change, or they score a point. You could change where the things are. Also, now that card's a lot more viable. So there's a lot of big differences in there, but I definitely like these two. I like where they synergize really well. All four decks have their own things, like dragons do one thing, unicorns do another, and then the other ones had hypnotize and repel, and they had their different mechanics. And you would check when they come out with another set, I was definitely like, what are they going to be able to change in here to keep everything very symmetrical, yet add something new to the game? And overall, I'm not often necessarily disappointed by a game, but I'm kind of disappointed as just being an expansion because it's not. You really can't play the other two with it because I just don't think they're going to be as powerful. They might actually be more powerful to some extent because since you don't have to worry about placing anything, every card you play just doesn't affect. You don't care where you play anything. They might actually end up being more powerful and they could overpower and beat the other decks a lot quicker because they don't have to worry where they're placing things and try and strategize. But on the other hand, they don't have some of the other cooler effects. I don't know if they play tested these together or if they make another version, if it's going to be like Ducks versus Demons in that style. Or if they're going to, upgrade the newer ones. But again, they can't really upgrade the new ones without changing all the cards. So that's what we have. It's really up to you what you want to get. Again, my recommendation is probably get Cute versus Evil or Dragon versus Unicorn, because you can pick up the other one and have 4 different decks to play, which are all very similar to each other. But if you pick up all 3 of them, you can still play them. You can still have fun. They're going to be definitely different. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hope it informs you on what you're looking at getting. See you guys later. Bye.